Dirty Truth Tellers.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're Epstein and Hassan, the Dirty Truth Tellers.
Yes.
And tonight is actually a pretty important night, Hassan, because it is my birthday. We're recording this on
Happy birthday.
December 29th, 2021. But this show will go up as the first show of 2022. And we did 50 shows. Congratulations.
Yes.
In 2021.
Without killing each other in here.
You know, when we because we can't perform live, we finally decided to do this YouTube show. And originally it was just the two of us, but then we had this idea of doing something we always wanted to do, is to interview couples, because we're a couple and we've had a number of very interesting couples on. And tonight, I think we're going to carry on in the interesting couple series.
And that came out of, we were just wondering, how are couples dealing with COVID? I mean, how is this affecting your relationship, your work, just day-to-day stuff? And so we've just been bringing on different couples who live in different parts of the world, different ages, just to find out, how the hell are you dealing with it?
Right.
So,
and the other thing is, we also figured out, because we've been married for 35 years, 35 long years. I mean, today's my birthday, so you're not allowed to be, say anything nasty around me.
Nothing.
And usually we had our best sex after we did shows. And since we haven't been able to perform in over a year, we had to figure out a way. So this is kind of like group sex for the new millennium.
Yes.
You do your group sex.
Okay.
You have other people there.
Only the top of your body
the top
looks
of you,
good.
Everything's fine.
Only the area in your house that people can see.
Everybody smells good. Everything.
From the top up.
The Zoom thing isn't that bad. You don't have to get naked, and you can still have some kind of sex.
So let's bring our guests.
We're very excited tonight. And let me, because I got my notes over here. Now I'm like a newsman. When I read my notes, I put my glasses on.
Well, you can't see.
So our guests tonight are a couple. They're a married couple.
Yeah.
And we'll find out a lot about their history of how they met and all of that. And this is Kylie&Madhav. Okay.
Yes.
I mess up your name, because I'm really bad on that.
It's Madhav, yes.
Madhav, okay. And we met Kylie about, I would say probably about 10 years ago.
We were performing.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Our show.
Yeah.
And it was at a place called the Greenwich Village Bistro.
Yes.
And she's very nice. We spoke to her after the show, and then she startled us because she actually came back. She said she was going to do it.
And people say that all the time.
Always telling
They do in New York. They do.
Yeah, they tell you, oh, we love your show.
We love you.
And she said she was coming back.
Came back.
And she did.
And then we actually did something that we never do, because after the second show, we spoke to her again. And we liked her a lot, and we met her and had dinner with her afterwards.
We never go out with anybody.
Because what happens usually with people, after they see our show and they hung out with us, they're always really disappointed, because the show is kind of fun and sexy and crazy, and then we are so boring when you get to really hang out with them. But we had a great time with Kylie.
Yes.
And I remember thinking how Kylie's like a very brilliant woman. And then she went to college for a while. I have it here, Yale University School of Management. You kind of disappeared for a while.
No, but we would, every now and then we would get like, messages on Facebook, like she's in some part of the world here and some part of the world there.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I can't even get my shit together to get out the room. She's just all over.
And then not that, I don't remember exactly when, but we were performing at the Alchemical, which is where we ran the last few years. And you came and brought a group of people with you.
Yes.
So Kylie has always been a straight shooter,
and
a very supportive person and a straight shooter. And as I said, a great person to have dinner with. I kind of think of you as a foodie. I don't know if I'm right about that, but
it's still true. Yes.
Yeah. I remember something we were talking about, and like you broke down the ingredients, and I'm like, God.
We ate at that Peruvian restaurant in Greenwich Village.
You knew everything that was in the food.
So, and now, how long have you been married?
Well, so we had our religious wedding almost 2 years ago, but we had a civil wedding before that. So it depends on which answer you want.
How many years have you been together even before you got married, though?
I would say
2016.
2016.
So
So it's a bit of
5.5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
And let's see what I have. I don't have a whole lot on you.
Okay.
Madhav. I may
Yes,
just
you can
call
ask me. Yes,
Huh?
you can just ask me anything and we can clear it out.
Okay, so first I see that you're a semi-professional cricket player.
Yes, I was a semi-professional cricket player, and cricket is very big back at home in India.
Okay.
So they basically say it's an English game and Indians just mastered it.
Right.
So as a kid, like any other kid in India, 80% of the kids, we play cricket. So then I took it seriously. So I played professional cricket for a while. Then I realized I didn't have the talent to play professional cricket, because playing it for fun and playing for professional is completely different skill sets.
Right.
And that's when I realized, but I still love this game. I don't want to walk away from this game. So I got into umpiring, cricket umpiring, like a referee. So that's more like a different aspect of the game not many people speak about, but there's so much to the game. So they say there are 3 teams when you play the sport, like 2 teams are playing and the third team is the umpires, right? So I gave my umpiring exams and I qualified as an umpire. And until COVID happened, or probably a couple of years before COVID happened, I was umpiring in local leagues. So I still love this game. After moving to New York, I missed it a lot because not many people play cricket in United States. But eventually I found a group of people that plays cricket. So every weekend now on Lower East Side, the Lindsay Park, we still go out and play cricket.
No, that's cool.
And
I noticed that it's a game that you say it was in Britain or England, and then
yes,
that I would imagine for kids your age, that could have been like what for Black kids, basketball, getting out of the neighborhood, or baseball. Was it looked
Yes.
upon that way?
yes, exactly. Exactly. Like cricket is kind of like that made you happy. Like it was like everything for us.
And it's
Wow.
similar to baseball, right? It's not
very
exactly
similar
like
to
baseball.
baseball. They come from the very same family. But even baseball, if you look at baseball's history, it also comes from Britain, somewhere in Britain. And cricket and baseball just come from the same family, but baseball just restricted itself to United States and cricket to the Commonwealth nations.
When you're an umpire, do you get people talking shit to you, like you suck, your mother's is a hoe?
Okay.
You don't.
Yes.
You do have
So
that.
that is very baseball and American football. In cricket, you absolutely not. In cricket, they say cricket is a gentleman's game, and baseball or football, football is more like for hooligans. So in cricket, you never say anything. You play the sport with
Really?
utmost respect for your opponents. No rubbing your shoulders. You sledge. There's some banter in the field,
Right.
but nothing serious. You can get banned, you can lose points, and you can get fined.
Wow.
And the entire cricketing community will react in a very bad way. So we had a cricket scandal that happened a couple of years ago, when Australian players were trying to use sandpaper to take the shine out of the ball. And the Australian Prime Minister apologized, because that's how the entire cricketing world reacted.
Wow.
Is this sport in the Olympics?
They're trying to get into the Olympics, like for the LA Olympics in 2028. They're working on it. Cricket was in Olympics in the 90s just for once, but it has become a very protected sport, so never got into Olympics. But now they're trying their best to get into Olympics.
It's funny that England, whatever they do, they always do it so politely. You know,
Yeah.
they're really polite, as they stole trillions of dollars from the Indian people and took
But
over the
they're
whole.
very
They're so
polite.
nice.
So
They're so
loving.
polite.
If they
and
have their tea and they rip and rape your country.
They rape your country. They steal
Yeah.
buildings,
Right.
but they're so nice. I mean, they're just so crickety. And
yeah.
that family, we're I'm like a real American. When the royal family, that crap gets
Yeah.
under my
We
skin.
went to we did the Fringe Festival in Scotland.
In Edinburgh, in
And
Scotland.
so we went on a little tour, and there was one of their castles there. And I was like, this is just freaking pathetic. And, the thing I will say about Kylie, and I'm sure you have the same thing, history like that.
I do enjoy
Yes.
enjoy casually studying history, yes.
You are very yes.
Yeah.
So like I know. I mean, in my opinion, the British royal family are the world's biggest thugs and gangsters that have
And-
never.
yes.
They're the #1 gangsters in the world. Like that queen with
Yes.
a little bag that she holds that has like a submachine gun or something.
Now
in
he
it.
might not feel that
Well,
way.
if he doesn't, he can express it. I'm just
Yeah.
stating how
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
But you know, India in particular, I've read a lot about India. First of all, I love India because I love India. #1, Indian people, whenever they've come to our show, in general, they have the best sense of humor, have been our biggest supporters, which is really interesting. Indian people, these are American, they live here, but whenever they've come to our show, they've been great. But we also practice yoga. We're practicing Buddhists. And a lot of people assume that, you know, Buddhism came from China for some reason, but like it didn't come from China. And so the history of India is fascinating to us because of meditation and just the spiritual. And I know Kylie is kind of you're a very political person. Now, let me see if I remember, you're part Jewish, right?
Yes. Yes.
You're
On my
part
grandfather's side.
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, are you Hindu or?
Yes.
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 You converted to Hinduism when you
I
got
did.
married?
What was that process like for you?
You know, much less, I think, structured and dogmatic than I think, you know, people who grow up surrounded by Abrahamic faiths would expect, because I think, like, you know, there's a very kind of, you know, orthodoxy around how to convert to Judaism or Christianity or, you know, Islam, as it were. But in Hinduism, no such like
ceremonies.
Yeah, there's no such stricture. It's really like, you know, it's really a very personal journey. It's like, if you embrace Hinduism, then you're a Hindu. That's literally it. I mean, if you want to have a ceremony, there are options, but there's no like requirement to be able to participate in Hindu ceremonies that you have done this ritual. And so, yeah, so it was rather, I mean, like, you know, kind of anticlimactic in the sense that, yes, I converted, but I have no kind of like, you know, I have no pictures like to share of like of the moment that happened. It was just more, you know, at a certain point, probably in Singapore, like I just embraced the religion and felt liberated.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had someone, an African-American or someone other than white ask, well, why would you do this as a Black person?
You know, I have to say, you know, I have to give like people credit, because that was probably in the back of my mind that would happen 5 or 6 years ago. But I have to say that at least in my personal circle, no one that I know, you know, has ever given me any flack or really even questioned why I would convert to Hinduism. Like, you know, I mean, to be fair, like most of my friends are atheists, so they probably don't care either way. But, you know, I have some friends who were like, you know, hardcore, you know, old school, you know, Black Southern Baptists, and they also don't care. Friends who are Catholics, they don't care. And so, no, like no one in my personal circle, I'm sure that their families have, you know, or people who are kind of, you know, I'm separated from by 1 or 2 degrees, but in my immediate circle, not a single person.
What about your own family? Did they have any issues with you?
You know, and I think, I mean, because like, as we talked about, like my family is already so mixed up, like in terms of everybody is getting with everybody, and they've been doing that for like decades, that it was like, okay, so now we have someone from India in the family, but that's not even like unique, because my uncle's Indian but from Grenada. So it's like even that like wasn't like special. It's like, okay, so you're doing what your aunt did in the 60s. Congratulations. It's just like,
there's a film out right now called The Summer of Soul. Have you seen that? It's about the 1969 concert in Harlem, where there were like all the people from Harlem came and they had major acts perform. And it's great if you get a chance. I think it's on Hulu or it's called The Summer of Soul.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch it.
And in the movie, there's a performance by the Fifth Dimension, Marilyn McCoo in the Fifth Dimension.
Yes.
I explained to Hassan that when I was a young boy growing up in Brooklyn, my first sexual fantasy, my first ripping the skin off of my penis by masturbating so much, was about Marilyn McCoo. So she says to me, Marilyn McCoo, she doesn't look anything like me. So I said, look, I can go the whole spectrum. I'm not like locked into just one version of chocolate. I can take the whole chocolate thing from very deep, rich chocolate. So, you know, that was my So when you were growing up, did you grow up in India?
I grew up in India, yes.
Were you always wanting to
see a woman like
a woman like her and come to America? Or did you, or was that one of your earlier fantasies?
No, not at all. Definitely not. Definitely not.
So you thought you would marry an Indian woman?
Yes, I definitely thought I'll marry an Indian woman, and I thought probably I'll end up living in Malaysia or Singapore. US was definitely not on my mind. It just happened. That's it.
So you came to America as we are collapsing. So congratulations, welcome. You wanted to be here.
Your
No, really, what
is
timing? Could you have come at a worse time, like the civil?
And be
That's
as
what
dark
people-
as you are.
Right.
Yes. But I think as an immigrant, I see a lot of opportunities in this land. Tremendous amount
agree.
of opportunities, yes.
What we've
But
learned,
yes, what you said, like your perspective, I agree. It's collapsing.
yes, it is definitely collapsing.
And maybe that is the opportunity that you're seeing,
Exactly.
that it can now be rebuilt by different voices and different minds.
Exactly.
So let
Hopefully.
me play this past Kylie, because not everybody is, you know, this is a little controversial.
Okay.
Like, I believe that a big part of what happened here was when Obama became president in 2008.
Yes.
This destroyed a lot of white people, because
Yes.
half of the white people in America, really, the whole evangelical movement is really a white supremacist movement. It's not really Christianity. You can call it, but it's not Christianity. It's white supremacy. And then Obama was president for 8 years, and when these people saw his family in the White House and just saw, they couldn't take it. So they really wanted to go back to white supremacy. And the worst part about it was Obama basically did nothing for Black people as president. He allowed, you know, he went overboard not to do anything that could be perceived that he was trying to help Black people. So do you agree with that, Kylie? Or because I know you're a very political thinker.
I mean, so
disappointed in him?
I personally was not disappointed, and I'll expound upon that. So I think that, did he err in maybe how much he tried to appease people that didn't need to be pandered to, i.e. white supremacists? Perhaps, yes. Like, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna say that the Republican Party is a white supremacist party, but
I'll say
I mean,
just let me say it then.
To be fair. I mean, it's just like, do I think that he maybe was a little bit too flexible? In hindsight, yes. But also at the same time, so as much as, yes, like we all know this is like a country literally founded on white supremacy and has operated accordingly for the last 2.5 centuries, that's undeniable. But at the same time, and again, you know, this could be my Obama love bias, like clouding my vision. But you know, at the end of the day, for better or for worse, we are still a multiracial democracy. And I think that Obama, in his position, knew that, yes, it was Black people who, like, you know, were perhaps most enthusiastic about him and, you know, responsible for his, you know, multiple successes in terms of like being elected and reelected. He was still the president of the entire country. Now, does that mean that he couldn't have done more for Black people or for the community? Absolutely not. But I think that he was probably like, I think he was trying to do what a lot of Black people, when they get up and, you know, into the upper levels of whatever career vertical they're in, you know, a mistake that we often make is trying to make everyone happy all the time. And within that, not being as shrewd as we should be politically, because we grew up hearing you have to work twice as hard to get half as far.
Right.
So, you know, that respectability politics. And so we buy into that because oftentimes that's the only way that we can get even like a modicum of success is by, like, you know, getting that perm and, like, you know, like wearing those pearls and, you know, the metaphorical pearls and heels and whatnot, you know, the metaphorical perm to blend in, you know, hoping that we can like get so far. And then we do. And then, you know, we find out, as Obama did, that that's not enough. You know, it's like, yes, you were a Black president, but, you know, this country is still deeply racist. And that needs more than, like, you know, a few Black people who succeed, you know, being in the limelight. It needs a more active approach, a more active solution, which is something that he did not deliver.
He also, I mean, Naomi and I have talked about this a lot. The United States presidents, whoever it is, all witnessed in 1963, John Kennedy being assassinated in public, which was obviously a coup d'etat by the United States military. It wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald by himself killing him. And I think the message was sent. And every president since then, whether it was Trump, Obama, Bush, they all endorsed the American empire. They are the CEO of the American empire. You can have certain different views on social issues, on certain political things, but when it comes to the United States military, they all do the same thing.
Yes.
Republicans and Democrats always come together to give trillions of dollars to the military. We have 800 bases around the world.
Yep.
You're saying that China is dangerous. They have 0 military bases, you know? And I don't know, because as an Indian person, are you more fearful of China or the United States?
So India is very smart on this. They balance Russia and United States. Yes, we have problems with China. We share border with them. We have land. We are a landlocked country with China. So we have issues with China, but we really don't see China as a threat. So India always, like, they cooperate with all the countries. They don't make enemy out of any countries. They just try to get the best out of different countries. That's probably because that's how our culture is. We don't really pick up fights. We don't pick up enemies, but India is really good when it comes to war. Like, let's say our army is a battle-hardened army. We go for wars. We have defeated Pakistan in 2 wars. We lost a war with China in 1962. But Indian army or Indian government in general is, we don't choose sides. We just stay neutral. But also, like, they're very smart.
Yes. Well, I would say that there was a moment when it seemed like India was going to, I don't know what's happening economically in the world right now, because it seems like, you know, with COVID, when COVID hit, it sort of shook everything up. India was clearly on the rise.
Yes.
Definitely on the rise. There were many people who were saying that India was going to be a co-power with China and the United States. But since COVID, it's really hard to know. Like, because we don't really know what's going on. You know, if you have a
like, do you listen to where would you get excuse me, your news? Because the news that we're seeing is not telling us honestly what's happening there.
Yes. So the Western media in general, let's say CNN or BBC, they focus more on India, the poor parts of India, mostly the north of India. So if you see the social indicators both in the north and south, I'm from the south, we have almost a literacy rate of 98 to 100% kids going to school. Wow. So in the south, the social indicator is you can compare to most of the Western nations. And whereas in north, you can compare the social indicators to sub-Saharan Africa. That's our difference, the south and north is. But south of India has very less numbers, people living there. So the population is less. So our voice is also very less. So they say if you
here, because here the Southerners are the dumber people. I'm just
yes. So in United States you call the Bible Belt. In India we call the North as the Cow Belt or the Indie Heartland. To form the government in India, you just need to win north of India. You need not focus on south. But if anyone who goes to south of India, which I highly recommend, you will see a country that is as progressive as European countries. Most of the people speak English. We are bilingual. It's extremely diverse country. So you can't define India like, what is Indian food? You can't define what is Indian food, right? India is so diverse. We have 22 official languages. A country has 22 official languages and 700 languages, right? Like if I drive from my state to the next state, people are not going to dress like me. People are going to speak completely different language. Their food habits are completely different. So that's what always I tell Kylie is CNN or BBC or for any other news channels, they focus more on Delhi, which is north of India, the capital of the country. People should also focus on the south. South is an amazing part of the country which no one speaks about.
That's not beneficial to do that.
Yes.
So now let's get personal with them. Okay, we did the politics.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get to the stuff we're really interested in.
Yeah. Are you monogamous?
Are you a monogamous couple?
I would say yes.
Yes.
Is that a choice?
Wait a second, there was like a split-second delay there, Kyle.
No.
You're
quite shocked with that question.
I know. I was trying
to maybe it was a language thing, you know. Maybe
maybe Hindus don't use the word monogamous.
It was like a split second.
And he was like, "Yeah."
And she's gonna watch this because it's gonna be on the internet. So believe me, Kylie will. She noticed that because I saw there was a little like response.
So if you want us to edit that out, we'll ask you.
No. It can be that.
See, we're monogamous. Yes. We're a monogamous couple. We've been together 35 years. And I want to give him encouragement because I could tell already the guy, it took him a few seconds to get it out of his mouth that he was monogamous. It's hard for men to admit that.
He had no problem with it. It was her stuttering. He was fine.
You are monogamous. So
Yes.
another question for you.
Did you make that decision? Did you ever talk about it, or just your relationship unfolded like that?
I would say our relationship just unfolded like that.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't like a conscious choice in either way, if that makes sense. It's just like
Yeah.
it just kind. I mean, it's actually a valid point. Like, because like I know for many couples it is something that they like discuss with intention, and for some reason we didn't, and I don't know exactly why we didn't.
Right.
You will need a good, if you stay together 35 years, which I pray that you do, you need imagination. Let me tell you, you need imagination, because, every time I've seen these titties for 35 years, every time, if I'm just going to go on there and squeeze them and that's it, it's going to, you gotta have a few other ideas rolling through.
Yes.
You gotta be a little imaginative.
Yeah,
So the best successful thing is if a couple shares a what I call harmonic fetishes. Like if your fetishes move together like in harmony, you can have a 35-year marriage and it stays exciting.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it can get, so go ahead.
Who's the jealous the most?
That's a good question.
Good question.
That's not an answer.
Because I would say it's not me, but then we all have our blind spots. And so
I would also say not me, but we are happy for each other's success. We know our limits and limitations. So I would say Kylie is very talented. I've learned a lot from her, but if you ask me, am I jealous of her? Definitely not.
I think
she's very, very intelligent.
Yeah.
That was my take on Kylie. She's a very, very strong person.
Yeah.
And very intelligent.
So how do you two argue?
That's intense. When we argue, it's very intense. We have a lot of differences about a lot of like politics, our cultures, or probably even when it comes to certain things that we run the family. We have differences and we sit down and discuss it a lot. There's a lot of differences, but we come to a common point where we agree on each other's ideas.
And I think, well, we're both Geminis too, so I'm not sure if that's.
So there's really 2, 4, 6, 8 people.
Yes, you're right.
Yes,
really,
and all of them have very strong opinions.
Yes.
So we got very into Buddhism about 20 years ago now, and we teach Buddhism. And in Buddhism, they're always anger is considered always negative. There's no positive quality to anger. So when you're Buddhist, you have this extra dimension on you. You're pissed off out of your mind. Like I'm super angry at her, but as a Buddhist, I can't be angry at her. So it becomes like an internal kind of conflict. And they give you all these techniques. So she learned this. This wasn't from Buddhism. We were watching one of these kind of personal growth people.
Yes.
And his suggestion was when you're in an argument, you should just do something silly. So show what you like. In
the middle of an argument.
You do like.
Does not work. Okay.
It made me. I'm not a violent person. I became violent. If you're gonna, like that doesn't work.
I think how important is it for either one of you or neither one of you when you are arguing to be right?
I mean, again, so I think, the part of me that, that feels or wants to believe it's more evolved, wants to say, oh, well, I don't have that, but no, I'm still human. There's still ego. Yes, that is there. But I will definitely say that during arguments, yes, at times there is sometimes I feel I am right. And sometimes I'm probably forcing a point instead of just backing off and, apologizing.
Right.
Which,
what did you learn about each other during COVID?
Well, it was interesting because I'll paint the picture for you. So like COVID, so our religious wedding was on Valentine's Day 2020. February 14th, right? So like February 2020, just before things like fell apart, right? So, we get married in India, my family and friends from the US come out, there people from all over the world come out. COVID's like in the background, like people are like, oh, should we be worried? I'm like, no, but that's not even in this country. Like, at that point. And so all that happened, we, did that, had the families there. Then I went back to the US thinking, for a few weeks or something. Then March 2020 happened, and we were actually apart for 5 months.
Yes.
unexpectedly.
Wow.
We just got caught on the wrong side of closed borders for 5 months. So for half of COVID, we were not together. And then in August of last year, I was able to get kind of this really difficult to secure permission from the Indian government to fly, because I've since become a dual citizen of India and the US, but at that point, but at that point I was not. Like at that point, I only had my US passport, which was as good as like, you know, a dollar bill trying to get into India. And so I got, but the point is I got in, and then we spent 6 months together. And I'll let you start off about like what we learned over 6 months.
And during those 6 months, it was very interesting. We learned a lot of things.
Oh, yes.
Because when you're dating and when you're boyfriend and girlfriend, it's completely different.
Yes.
And when you are married, it's another game completely.
Yes.
When you're boyfriend and girlfriend, you actually like each other.
Yeah.
Like you start out. You know, that's the major difference.
Oh yeah. Now her snoring gets on your nerves.
Right. You know, all that cute snoring. Now you're ready to strangle her. Yes.
So I learned a lot of things about Kylie, especially a lot of sensitive things that she can be sensitive to, because as a boyfriend, you can say things and get away with it. But as an husband, you can't say that, right? If I say something very rude, then my mother-in-law is going to call me and talk to me. My brother-in-law is going to call and talk to me. So as couples, you got to be really smart on what you say, even when you're angry, right? In heat of the moment, you tend to say things, but later you regret, like you never said or never did anything. So that was one phase I learned about Kylie, like what are the sensitivities, what she likes, what she dislikes. So it was a learning curve. If you ask me, even today, it's a learning curve. We always learn until the very end, right? But I've learned a lot about her over the years. As men, I think you can agree with me. There are certain things that you might be right, but it's better not to say it.
Oh, no, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I will go on record to everybody. I have never been right. It's amazing in 35 years that not even once, like you would figure by accident, I would have done something right or said that, but it's never even, I'm consistent. That's one thing you got to admit. I'm
you've
super
never
consistent.
been right. Yes. Yeah.
All right. So here's another, I'm going to ask you some personal questions now. All right. These are the personal ones. All right. Who was the first in the relationship, even before you were married? Who farted first in front of the other person? Who farted first?
I think it's me.
Okay, is that correct?
Absolutely.
You shocked Kylie.
I mean, so like that's like another, you know, kind of like window into just like different. I don't know, etiquette levels or what we.
I thought because he was Indian, maybe it was different foods. You know, I thought maybe.
I mean,
I have never smelled a fart like that before.
Well, I mean, it was just more like, I don't know, like in the US, there's just certain things that we wouldn't do in front of another person. Even if you know them for 30,000 years, it's just like, you know, I'm not going to pick my nose in front of someone. It's just like, but again, like that's a very US thing. Like it doesn't mean the whole world has to think like we do.
She told me when we first got together, if you don't, you know, it's human. If you need to fart.
Exactly.
So I did. And then she tried to back out of it when she smelled it. Because, you know, I was a Jew. I grew up Jewish. I'm eating corned beef, pastrami. I'm like a dead cow. I'm sorry to say this in front of an Indian person, but like I was farting cow, basically. I was farting cow. You know?
But they say scientifically, if you're trying to fart, when it's coming out, you just got to release it because it's releasing the toxic gas from your body.
That's what
right.
I'm tell you. I'm
yes, that's scientifically speaking. If you're trying to hold on to it, they say it can lead to cancer at some stage.
And do you see the holes in this nose? I can smell India, okay? I smell everything. I'm one of these people.
I understand, yes.
Extremely sensitive to smells.
I always told her, you know,
I cannot help it.
If she was into cocaine, she would have snorted up the whole batch right in front of you with those giant holes, man. Just, nobody ever wanted to snort cocaine with her. You know, she did the whole package.
And I want to ask you, if you had to have a pet, are you dog, animal, or what?
Again, polar opposites. Cat,
dog.
Yeah, and because like we can't compromise, we have nothing. Literally, no pets.
I love dogs.
That's actually a good thing. We had a cat because we live in a tiny apartment, in the same apartment for the whole marriage. It's it's too small for a dog, so we got a cat, and he got sick very quickly, and we took him to the vet. And this is my vet thing. As soon as you bring them to the vet, they say to you, is this your pet or is this a member of the family? You say it's a member of the family,
Your
then,
bill goes
then
up,
they
baby.
fuck you up the ass with charges up
Really?
the wazoo. Because in Manhattan, everybody loves their pets. They're obsessed with their pets. And these vets are like auto mechanics. How do you know that they're doing what they say? I would give my cat to the vet. 2 minutes later, he'd come out. The bill would be $500.
And you couldn't.
You couldn't go.
You
couldn't go.
You couldn't leave the animal there.
No, they take him in the back room
without taking them having your credit card.
Right. So my cat,
Your number.
we were very connected. So when he saw the bill, my cat was like, they didn't do
There's
shit.
nothing wrong
They
with
didn't
me.
do shit. They didn't do anything to me. And that's when I realized that veterinarians are the lowest of all science professions. Veterinarians are like auto mechanics. You cannot trust them because how do you know? How do you know? To them, it's just a cat, right?
Who does the cooking in your family?
Kylie.
Every day.
Do you plan the meals?
You know, it's funny to see, this is like another point that we learned about each other during the pandemic. So, you know, like as you remember, I've loved to cook for, you know, since I left home for college, you know, when I was 18. And so, you know, because I was living alone mostly for the last, you know, until I was married, so 15-ish years. And so, you know, I cooked like what I want, like, you know, like I think of something like during the day and I cook it. And then, so, you know, so that's what I was doing. Then I remember when we were together during COVID in India, it actually came up where he was like, oh, well, I want to choose the menu each day. And I was like, and I was like, but why? Like, I was like, does it matter? And he's like, yes, it does. And so I was like, okay, fine. So now I let him choose it. But now these days I ask him, what do you want to eat? He's like, I don't know. Like, what do you feel like making? And it's like, well, you just told me a few months ago, you want to choose the menu. Now you don't want to choose anything.
Okay. That's a very interesting
You
plot.
forgot that she was going to remember that. You didn't remember. She's going to remember that line.
Yes, but that's a very interesting plot because growing up in India, it's always like my mom was an housewife. Okay. So she'd always ask us and my father, like, what should I cook today? Like probably a day before, like, let's say when we're having dinner, we'll just discuss like what's going to happen tomorrow for breakfast or for lunch or for dinner tomorrow. So it was just like, just part of my upbringing. And I just told Kylie, like, let me choose. But it's not like only what I choose. You can also say, instead of fried plantains, you want something else, fried potatoes or something else like that. We're completely fine with it. But yeah, most of the cooking Kylie does. But when I was in India for 6 months, when COVID happened, we couldn't meet each other. I cooked every day too.
Well, that's pretty heavy at the beginning to have to separate like that.
That really.
I literally, she got a job in doing consulting in Philadelphia for like 2 days. This was a couple of years ago. And that is the only 2 days in 35 years we haven't been together.
Yeah.
Wow. During COVID, we were really together. And I felt like, who the hell is this woman? I didn't even know her before COVID because we're living in a tiny apartment. It's like we're in a cell. It's like a prison cell. If you remember that show, Lock Up, like 2 guys in one room, then one tiny, that's us. The first year of COVID, I didn't go out. Like I didn't deal with anything because I'm germophobic to begin with, and they made me crazy. Now I'm fighting against that. I'm trying to really not, because it was ruining my life, basically, the fear. I was really fearful. And am I, sorry?
No, who's the night person or morning person? Who's up later?
Kylie's up later, definitely, but I'm the morning person.
Do you prefer sex in morning or at night?
Night.
Morning.
Really? Really, Kylie, morning? Oh, please.
Morning is not for love. Morning.
You're full of energy to me.
No.
For me, it's night. I
need it to be really dark and gloomy. And then I get, that's what I like, dark.
When you get our age, you don't want to look
our
at
age.
that
So I don't want to, you know, we're so old now. Should I tell her that what happened to us? Or you want to tell her?
No, I'm not telling her.
You know, we're so old now that when we have sex, first of all, if we know we're gonna have sex, we don't eat for 3 days just to clean out the system. You know, you got to get that because at our age, you could gas up in the middle. It's no good. A few weeks ago, we were having oral sex, and we both fell asleep while I was down there. And she woke up. There's a white man down between her legs, and I don't know what came into her mind. She started punching me in the back of the head. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then we realized I had fallen asleep. So now we put a Post-it up and it says, we are having sex. This way, if we nod out during oral sex, you can just point, oh, no, it's not a white man busting into my room in the middle of the night. Like we're back in the 1800s. Those days are done. Those days are done.
Who reads the most out of the two of you?
I think we're both pretty avid readers, actually.
Yeah.
I think that we align pretty. Huh?
What are you reading now?
So I'm reading a novel in French, of course. It's called Le Tine, and it's about actually. So again, like meta history lesson. So part of India was controlled by the French for a few hundred years. Same story as the British, just different language. And so the part of India that was controlled by the French is called Pondicherry, and it's very near his hometown of Chennai. So there's a book written by an author in French about growing up kind of right around the time of independence from France in the 60s in this, pretty small town in southern India.
I bet their food is phenomenal.
It's off the chain.
Yes.
It's off the chain because you have that
culture.
Yes, French cuisine with South Indian cuisine. It's like we used to go there
On a coast.
Yes, and it's on the beach. Indian Ocean right there, Bay of Bengal. And off the chain good.
I would make her talk French when you're making love to her, though.
Yeah, but
It's much sexier. No.
Can you speak French?
You don't have to speak it.
No, him. Can you speak French?
No, I can't speak French,
So
but
she can say anything
Doesn't
to
matter.
you.
When you
and
say it in
know what
French,
she's saying.
as soon as somebody starts talking
exactly.
French, it has a tendency to get you a little aroused.
Yeah.
There's just something.
She can say to you, "Je suis fatigué."
Yeah.
I'm tired.
You just got my dick hard. Oh,
that sounds cool. Yeah.
yes.
I'm tired.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned that because I'm always tearing the French apart for the British because of their colonial expansionism. I always forget how bad France was.
Well, and Portugal.
That Haiti is still paying France,
Yes.
The reparations, I think they stopped.
Okay.
I don't know the exact year, but they're not paying anymore. I think now the movement is more for France to literally give back the money
To Haiti.
Exactly.
Okay, good luck with that.
They should, because France was pretty bad too. Not as bad as England, but these countries that felt that they had a right to go to other people's land and steal everything from them because those other people were savages.
Yes.
That's kind of like, no, you're the savages. You're the ones stealing everybody's resources.
Right.
There's a writer, Michael Parenti. He said that there's no such thing as a poor country.
I have to say something here, since you brought this point. A lot of people look at Asia as compared to Western standards, why Asia is so poor, why there's so much poverty, why people always go hungry. But you got to realize Asia was just like another Africa for the colonial powers.
Right.
And even look at India, India can be a massive country, but we're a very young country. We're only 75 years old as a country. And when the British came to India 350 years ago, India's contribution to the world GDP was 25%, right? And when the British left India in 1947, India's GDP to the world was 2%. That's how much they robbed.
I read that England, there's never been a bigger crime against a specific country as England to India in terms of.
Yeah, that's why they say India was the crown and the jewel.
Yes.
Jewel and the crown.
I watch a lot of British mysteries, and I'm always fascinated when you see these stories, right? And they have these Indian families taking care of these families.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of just haphazardly shown.
Yes.
And it's there's a history there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So there's a major history. If I'm not mistaken, doesn't a lot of the rice in the world come from India also?
Yeah, south of India.
Yes.
Right. And
That's
most people think it's China, and it's not.
Well, if you're Jewish, you think it's Chinese. Kylie, I'm sure on Christmas you had some Chinese food. You are part Jewish, and
we actually, our big thing on Christmas is duck.
Okay.
Wow.
So
that's hard to cook.
My mother does it every year. In French, it's called rillette de canard. And so it's I I don't know how to say it in English, but it's like you took the duck meat and like shred it. This reminds me of the conversation I was having with Naima years ago, like where I was like, yeah, just go to like this like butcher shop in East Harlem and get a fresh hen and have them quarter it and then blah blah. And you were like, I'm not doing any of that. You know that, right? This reminds me of that because it's like a very similar thing, but it really is worth it. Yes.
Yeah, yes. Well, you know, I practice a lot of Chinese medicine, and I don't know if you know, they call it black chicken. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I've read about it. It's very expensive.
Yeah, in China, they have a chicken. It's very good for a woman's digestive system, and it's good for women. And he goes to this Chinese restaurant around the corner, and the woman told me she's going to shop in Chinatown. She brought me the chicken, and it's black. The skin is black. It's smaller than a regular chicken.
See, I love sex, but I'm not gonna lie. As a Jew, if a Chinese menu slides under my door, I just get aroused. It's like, oh, look at this. Roast pork lo mein, roast
I never
pork dumplings,
ate a lot of Chinese
wonton
food.
soup. You know, for Jews that was it's very rebellious.
It.
Like my grandparents, when they stopped being kosher, they came to America, they stopped being kosher. To go to a Chinese restaurant to them was radical. That was because the pork was there. You know, the Jews, we weren't allowed to have pork. We actually, we used to host a burlesque show, and there was a dominatrix in the show. And she told us that she had a customer that was a Hasidic Jew. And his fantasy, his fetish was that she would force him to eat pork while he was naked. That was his whole sexual thing, that it was so wrong to eat pork that he would actually get aroused. So, you know, one of the great things about doing a burlesque show, we met a lot of dominatrixes, and they told us there's nobody more perverted on earth than the Hasidim.
Yes.
You know, I know I'm making a bold statement there, but that's what I heard.
Yes.
And I think whenever there's a lot of repression, there's a lot of, you know, behavior that's going to respond to that repression. So, all right, we have only a couple of minutes, so ask them the quick draw questions.
Okay. Addams Family or Munsters?
Ooh, I'm not sure Madhav knows these two, but I would. Oh, that's a good question.
Addams Family. I've seen Addams Family. I haven't seen Monsters.
I would say
the great. Check out the Monsters.
Potato chips or pretzels?
Potato chips.
Potato chips.
Wine or beer?
Wine.
Wine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Red or white?
Red.
For me, anything is fine.
Sleep with pajamas or without?
Without.
With.
Here's the final question, Hassan. This is the big one. Do you guys sleep in the same bed?
Yes.
You see, we don't. We did early in our marriage. Like when we were at your level a few years in, like in
not your level, your age.
No, undergrad. There's still undergrads in there.
But
we have like PhDs. We are like 30-something years.
Yeah.
So what happened was like 25 years into the marriage, she started like snoring. And when
Menopause.
she snores, it's like Louis Armstrong is playing the trumpet. It's like, and I'm not unable to sleep. Then she starts having hot flashes. So,
but he's not discussing him, because when men get older, they have to piss 24/7.
I piss every 3 minutes.
So he's going to the bathroom
up like 100 times a night. So we decided not to sleep in the same bed. And we sleep in separate beds in a small apartment.
It's wonderful.
It's so great. It's so great. You can fart in the bed. She doesn't have to smell the farts. You can blast away under the covers.
And the point that we're making is what you both are learning, because you both come from different cultures. You have to find what works for the both of you.
Yes.
And you have to be honest to discuss it and put it on the table. Things that are uncomfortable are okay if you can work through them.
Yes.
But you've got to sometimes be uncomfortable to get comfortable. Yes. And we just, we're both the same as both of you. Interfaith, interrace, both cultures very strong. And we realize that, okay, what's important to the spiritual foundation of our marriage, of our relationship. And I think that's what you both are doing. And I commend you on that, because it is not easy.
Yes.
You seem
what you're doing is not easy.
I'm really happy for you, Kylie, because
you deserve it.
we don't know you super well, but I said to Naima, like, I really respected Kylie because she's really smart. Like, that was what I kept remembering. And she was very honest and she supported us. Like, she really wasn't a fake, phony, full of shitnik. And I really am happy that you found a great guy. Yeah, and I could tell he's a great.
Who plays cricket? That's okay. That's okay.
I think you guys are really a beautiful couple, and
continue to take care of each other.
Take care of each other. Definitely a big future for you. And as I said at the beginning, though, this is what they have to remember. This is group sex for the new millennium. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So at some point, we don't have sex on what's tonight? Wednesday? We're not gonna have sex. At our age, it's like we can't. We have to plan it out like a few weeks in advance. But the next time we have sex, we're gonna remember you two guys. You're gonna sort of be with us. You're gonna be playing cricket. She's gonna be cooking.
Yes.
Okay,
and speaking in French.
She'll speak in French. And when they start arguing, the shit'll get really hot. And then you know, all we ask is that you do the same for us. And just imagine me with muscles. That's all. I know it's a stretch. I know it's a big stretch, but imagine
you're gonna need acid, honey, to think that.
And thank you for sharing my birthday with me. And
thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
It was wonderful meeting you. Thank you so much.
Before we go, is there anything you want to say to her, or anything you want to say to him that's in your heart to start off your new year?
That's interesting. I'll let you go first.
I guess, well, we are looking to grow our family soon, date TBD. But I'm just looking forward to growing our family together and to embarking upon this next step together.
And for me, it's the same, like looking forward to grow our family, expand our family, and get old with Kylie.
I love that.
Get old, but stay young inside. That's the don't let the child ever leave you. Like, I'm almost 100 years old. Today's my birthday. I'm like really old. I am like so close to dropping dead.
Stop it.
But inside of me, I'm still 9 years old. I'm a mischievous little kid. So having you guys.
Thank you guys.
And we're
thank you so much. Take care and
we're the Dirty Truth guys.
Happy New Year, happy birthday.
Happy New Year and happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.